Hello, everyone. Welcome to PR Explored. This is the last episode of 2025. I'm so excited that we made it to the end of the year, but it's the end of the year. So let me quickly just talk about what PR Explored is. So PR Explored is the PR podcast where we delve into trends and topics related to public relations. I'm your host, Michelle Garrett, a PR consultant and writer, and I have a special guest today. Bill Byrne is back. Yay!
Hey, everybody. Before we start, gotta throw out my holiday cat shirt. If you celebrate or like cats, I hope you love it. If you saw me on Instagram, I made a post that I would be wearing it. I think some people didn't believe me, but it's the season.
I can see. I'm so excited that you're a cat fan because I am also a cat fan.
Oh, yes. I love fur, as weird as that sounds now. And also, we got to call out your antlers, which are amazing.
Yes, well, I might not wear them the whole time because who was going to take, advice or insight from somebody wearing this on their head? But I thought we'd get a little festive today. And actually, they're driving my cats crazy because they have bells and so when I walk around.
Gosh. I didn't even think about that. That's amazing.
They
So quickly, those that don't know me, I am co-founder and managing director of Remedy PR here in San Diego. I've been in the public relations industry for 25 plus years. I began my career in Manhattan at two of the bigger firms in the world. Most recently, one that was acquired by WPP. My experience ranges from active outdoor industries like snowboarding, skateboarding, surfing, yoga, to a lot of work in consumer tech, finance, and healthcare, among other things. And it's one of the things that I love talking to Michelle about is I'm not afraid to say what's working and not working in PR versus selling you on just some plain old BS. So whenever Michelle gives me the opportunity to put my money where my mouth is or my foot in my mouth via PR Explored, I'm always excited to be a part.
Well, I mean, this is the fourth time you've been here, right? So you are, like I said, next time for the Five Timers Club, like SNL does, we'll have to get you a jacket or some special.
I'll be waiting. And I went and looked. I don't know if those are smoking jackets or robes. Either way, it's cool. I don't know if smoking jackets are PC anymore. Some people might not even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't smoke, but it still would be cool to have one.
Yeah.
So send it. I want the PR Explored monogrammed robe.
We'll see. We'll see how 2026 works out. But I absolutely intend to continue doing this because I love being able to talk to my smart colleagues and friends. And so I'm just thrilled to have you here again. And I appreciate you spending time because I know everybody's busy. And, it's the busiest time of year, right? So we have to try to make time if we work in communications and PR and marketing to kind of think about as we head into the new year, what are we going to be kind of keeping an eye on? And of course, we never know for sure, but we're going to talk about a few things today. And I would love for people to weigh in if they have thoughts, what they're keeping an eye on, if they have questions that we can, talk about, please post. So, yes.
Awesome.
Well, we could chit chat, but I'm gonna get started. And I know we want to talk first about things that won't change because I mean I really have a lot of thoughts on this, and I know you do too. So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me what you think is going to kind of stay the same.
Off the jump, any potential client will ask, most potential clients are going to ask us, can you get me on blank? And, in the tech world, in the B2B world, that's often TechCrunch. Can you get me on Oprah's website? Can you get me on the Today Show? And I'll be the first to tell you that we've got a portfolio full of success stories there. But it doesn't happen overnight. And clients don't typically want to hear that you have to buckle in for the long haul. We've got case studies of landing that brilliant placement overnight, as do you, Michelle. But if you're really going to put effort into landing those stories, you've got to realize that you've got to buckle in for more than a few weeks to launch a PR campaign worth anything.
It's not something you can do overnight, and that's the thing I hope that starts to sink in, and I think for companies that are successful, with the PR effort, they understand that it takes time, it's not about chasing the shiny objects, it's not about last touch attribution, it's really looking at the big picture and, playing the longer game with all of these, efforts, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you bump into this a lot too, is you'll get questions on relationships. And do you have certain relationships? And how good are they? And this, we have great relationships. But just because we're friends with a journalist doesn't
Mhm.
mean they're going to drop everything to cover your story, right?
No. No, not at all. Not at all, and, I feel like that's I feel like they're just it's an education issue, often, because I just feel like people don't know or don't understand, and, once you've been in the trenches like we have been, I think that's part of every conversation, really, even before we start working together is, what what are your goals? What do and you can kind of tell from the questions that they ask or the conversation, even the initial conversation, what they are thinking and kind of their level. And sometimes people say, I don't know anything about this because I found myself using the term earned media. And they asked me and I should never assume that people understand what earned media is. So that is on me to explain, but then if that's why and that's really why a lot of companies go after PR in the first place is to get media coverage, which is also known as earned media. So
That is the downside of what we do for a living, because so many that are not experienced in it think that it's as easy as sending one email to somebody we have a relationship with and they're going to cover the story.
yeah.
And right or wrong, educated or not, most of the time it takes more effort than just sending a press release via email.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, it's a longer game and it's not an overnight. That's why when somebody contacts you and says, "Well, I have a launch next week, what can you do?" And I'm like, not a lot."
no, and that is something that probably won't change next year either, is the fly by night. We can guarantee you X, Y, and Z placements overnight.
Mhm.
Fake PR firms that we know don't deliver, won't get picked up by AI, but they'll take that money on, versus yourself or here at Remedy. I don't want to take on a client that we can't be successful with
Mhm.
and, charge them anything
Mhm.
knowing that we're going to fail. Other teams are fine with that. And
Mhm.
we've had brands come to us say they've been burned by PR teams before, and when we kick the tires, it was a bad plan. They didn't give it enough time, or they didn't give it enough budget.
Mhm.
Typically all three, and I'll tell them I would have not have taken that on. I'm like, here's what you should do. You don't have to work with us, but
Mhm.
here's what you should have done. Here's what I would do if I were you. And sometimes it's not taking on a PR team yet, because really all you're doing is you're selling a mouse in another shade of white, and that's not much of a story. Unless, timeout, I think Pantone color of the year is off white or something like that. So
What?
what do I know?
Not sure what they were thinking with that, but
There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of chatter online about it.
that's another,
That's another
topic
podcast.
for another day, but yeah, no, it's interesting. So let's talk about sometimes they'll say, "Why does PR cost so much?" Or why does this proposal what is it about the pricing or why let's talk about that a little bit because I don't think it has to cost an arm and a leg, but also it's not like you can just throw a little, something at it and be done. So,
Exactly. Part of it has to do with the experience of the people on your team. Someone with 20 plus years experience might cost more than someone with 10, right? And
right.
you look at some bigger firms where you'll meet with someone who's got 30 years experience at the front, and then they give your work to someone who's got 1 year experience and they can charge less. But
Right.
a lot of it is, PR takes time and effort. So depending on your brand and how deep of a pool of media outlets you're going to go after, how broad,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's going to take more time. Like we can look at footwear, right? Do you make hiking shoes for men? Okay, that's one target. Do you also make them for women? Okay, that's a whole other subset of media. Do you make
Right.
basketball shoes? All right, now we're adding in more effort. Do you have a good B2B story? Do you have a technology that you're trying to license to other footwear manufacturers? These are
Right.
all areas where it's going to take more time, but also it's more than just sending out that one email. It's monitoring for trends. It's
Mhm.
targeting different journalists and staying on top of them.
Right.
And you know this, you do so much with trend stories to make sure that they call you, because often journalists, Michelle Garrett and Bill Byrne aren't the only two great PR people out there. And as memorable as we are, sometimes they forget about us and we need to stay on top of them.
Right.
And we don't just go for that one TechCrunch story, because also that one story might not do it. If you're the customer, I don't care if it's a B2B customer or B2C, you might not click to buy right away. So you need to be in, yeah, TechCrunch is great, but all these other places that we can talk about later,
Mhm.
so that you resonate and you stay top of mind.
Yeah. On the pricing question, I just want to say that, they're different situations. So if you're a big company, if you're Apple, if you're, Adobe or whatever, you're gonna work with a lot of agencies, right? Bigger agencies are gonna be a better fit. But, a lot of my clients are 500 to 1,000 employees, what is really termed as a small business, and they have a one-person marketing department, so they're not gonna want or need to hire a big firm. So a smaller boutique agency or a consultant is a better fit and a more cost-effective, way to tackle it.
You nailed it. It's, what do they really need? Often we see brands look at firms that are massive, which have value, but that 500 person agency, you're not getting 500 people on your team.
Mhm,
And before Remedy, I was a consultant, and I'll throw the receipts down that did great work for certain brands.
mhm,
Brands that people know very well, because they didn't need 20 people on an account. Often
yeah,
an account needs 1 to 5, maybe, depending on what you're doing. If your brand is massive, then yeah. Or something you and I do not do a lot of is events where you just need manpower.
mhm,
That's something different. But you need a team that has enough, what I call prime time hours, meaning between 8 a.m. East Coast to 3, right?
mhm,
And it doesn't. We go up against, on the consumer side, you know, PR teams that are one person that do phenomenal work because they're good at their job. Sometimes all you do need is one person.
yeah. Well, and then you know who you're working with. That's what I always say to my clients. I'm not gonna hand you off to somebody, with less experience. You're gonna work directly with me. So that to me, that can be worth something because we don't, waste time or, it's a little bit more, they can, and then I mean, a lot of the things that a lot of the reasons they hire me are just so that they can have somebody to bounce questions off of when things come up. And honestly, as we head into this first trend we're going to talk about, they're going to need, they need somebody they can trust. They need a trusted counselor to turn to with questions and issues. And yeah.
The bait and switch in PR is so real, where they'll meet with someone your level or mine and then be dished off to someone
Yep.
who is 22, 23, cutting their teeth, learning PR on the client's dime.
Yep.
And I understand why that happens. You and I were at
Mhm.
one time 22, 23, learning the ropes,
Yep.
but brands don't realize that happens. And you should ask anyone pursuing a new consultant or a small agency like ours, who is my day-to-day contact? Because that is going to matter. Be wary of PR firms that have new business teams where they're very good at selling you, and
Right.
then this is who you're working with over there.
Right. No, you should know. You should ask that and meet them ahead of time, I think, before you make a decision. So I think
Okay, so
that's
that's
important.
enough talking about what's not going to change.
Well, let's get into some trends because, and I
Mhm.
think, I mean, these trends are probably not going to shock anyone. So the first one that we're going to talk about, ta-da, is AI and PR, right? So who isn't talking about that? But I don't know. I don't know. Let's give it a go here.
Definitely. Do you want to start with the deep fakes issue?
Well, that's been kind of my biggest trend that I'm watching because I feel like the technology is getting to a point, and we've all seen it, where you can't tell the difference, right? In a lot of cases. And so if your company, your execs are out there, and maybe somebody wants to come after your brand and they want to try to put something out that looks like your CEO giving remarks that, may or may not probably are not gonna be what you would have him actually say if he were there, like, talking live. It's gonna reflect potentially poorly on your brand, and you're gonna have to be prepared to address that. And I mean, this has to be part of your crisis planning, but I think also just building your reputation. And we will talk more about some of these things as we go, but through thought leadership and being the trusted expert in the space and just being out there in front of your audience so that they know they can tell the difference, right? If you're out there and they trust you, they're going to know when it's you. So that's my biggest issue with AI and PR right now.
You're nailing it. In a general level, similar to financial literacy, we need much better media literacy in our world. People are not educated enough on where their news comes from. I don't mean politically left or right. I just am getting into people see something, and because it's online, they take it as gospel. Whereas if I just wrote it on a piece of paper and handed it on the street and said this, you'd be like, who's this crazy guy? But it's so easy to hide online. So
Yeah.
media literacy with AI is really important, but brands need to, getting into the deep fakes, be ready to respond. And it's important that they're, monitoring for that, but also proactive and have a digital paper trail where the customer, whether B2C or B2B, can go and check what, we can call it a blog, we can call it a newsroom, whatever it is, have a stance on that. The same way that, you might see from your bank put out an Instagram story saying, hey, we've been told people are getting random text messages trying to
Mhm.
enter into your account.
Mhm.
Do not do that, whatever.
Yep.
Brands need to be ready to say, that's not our CEO. Because it's very easy for me to start an Instagram account saying Jim Smith CEO underscore, and
Mhm.
through various tools say things that Jim Smith would not want to say. Legal, no, but we know it's happening, whether it's overseas or domestically, right? So brands need to be ready before that spins out. So be in the loop, have that trail, but also proactively monitor for it.
Right.
And if you don't, and we can get into Reddit and other places too, like you've got to
Yeah.
be ready to respond before these things spin out.
Yeah. And the sad truth, as we know, is that whether or not it is true, if it goes, if it gets out there, and I don't want to use the term go viral, but I will, if it catches, fire on social media and starts to get spread around, then whether or not it's true, it's out there and it's gonna take you a lot more time and effort to kind of squelch it than it would if you were on top of it kind of from the get-go.
And that's another issue we're going to have with AI in terms of AI-based search, which is huge for discovery in B2B and
Yeah,
B2C,
right,
that if the story goes viral, gets a lot of traction, that's what the LLMs and GPTs are going to pick up, not the
right.
small retraction that somebody made later. It's like, if the headline's awful and like the newspaper retracts it later, they throw it on the back page, right? So
Yeah,
the same thing with these deep fakes. If you don't nip it in the bud now, these the GPTs of the world are pulling the things that seem to be reputable, whether or not they're
mhm,
factual.
mhm,
If it's got popular opinion, then it must be right, but it's not. So
mhm,
be proactive in your monitoring, especially in the age of AI.
right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's the thing. It's like if you don't have anything set up to know what is being said, because you can't possibly, monitor every platform unless you have tools to do that. So I think that's really important to make that part of your budget and
Mhm.
and make sure everybody's in the loop because I feel like silos are still a thing. Because I interviewed 2 weeks ago, I had Brooke Sellis on, and she's a social media expert, and she was talking about how from a social media perspective you would manage a crisis. And part of it is you kind of have to work together. Obviously, you're going to work with your legal team, but you're going to work with your PR team. And I just feel like that there's a kind of a wall there sometimes. So I feel like we need to be working together and we can get a lot more done. And obviously, if they already are using the tools, they can clue in the comms team if something is on the horizon out there. So,
Yes. Yes. And side note, you mentioned tools. That's where AI has helped a lot, but
yeah.
still brands need to budget to use these tools. And I
Yep.
know they can be expensive. And
Yes.
that's one of the things that we tell brands already. I'm like, hey, listen, this is what the tool costs. We're not getting revenue out of that. This is a third party service to use that. Otherwise, you risk disaster.
Right.
So your
Yeah.
call.
Yeah. I wanna stay on just AI and PR for just a second before we move on because there is
Sure.
the next trend is really important too. But I know a lot of people are wanting to use AI to, do everything for them, right? And it can be useful, I feel like, for research and things like that, maybe. But if you're using it to do your writing and automating your outreach, because again, I know I have seen it as, I'm listed in a media database because I've done some freelance writing, and I get pitched and I can tell when something is automated and when it's not, and then also the follow-ups. And sometimes it's like 3 follow-ups in 2 days, and I'm like, automation has its place, but let's, be careful.
If a story is being written by a human, do you think that human wants to be contacted by a machine to pitch them? Because I get the same LinkedIn DMs you do. And I'm going to shout out my friend Jeff Sipe. He's got an office in our building. He's a former Google recruiter and an interview coach. And he gave me a great hack in that if you go to my profile on LinkedIn, my first name is actually listed as Bill Byrne hyphen. And then my last name, as pretentious as it might sound, is PR expert. And the reason I do that at the bare bones level is the DMs I get now that I know to write off as fake, or not fake, but written by bots, the email comes from, or the DM, Bill Byrne hyphen comma, which no one would ever use
Oh,
who's a human. And it's clear, cool. You just sent me this, block, archive,
yeah,
you're done. And yes, you nailed it. AI helps often with research. We all know it hallucinates, though. It's like a teenager who tells you what you want to hear
right,
sometimes. And you start kicking the tires. I'm like, well, that's not where you were last night. But looking at what a journalist has written and tailoring it, a deep tailoring that AI can't do right now,
mhm,
plus mentioning relationships, plus pulling from other things that might be a factor.
right,
It's just, it's not there. So humans want to be spoken to as humans. And as we get into that, I do see in the future, AI is here to stay. But
right,
we definitely have AI fatigue. And much like in food and other worlds where like organic is preferred, there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to deal with an AI agent. It's helpful in certain things for sure,
right.
but there's going to be people that want their content created by real people. There's going to be people that want to interact with real
Yeah.
people. And
Yeah, I think we're starting to see I mean, I feel like I just feel like I'm living in 2 worlds most of the time with many things. However, with this, it's like there's the camp that's all in, and then there's the people that are kinda like, I don't know, maybe being drug in reluctantly, and then there's people who just are out and out like, "No, no way, no how."
well,
So, I feel like we'll probably land somewhere in the middle, but, it's
AI makes for a great headline, right? You can't deny AI makes for a great headline right now. But, and as somebody who mentors a lot of startups, it is having its moment to an
right,
extent, like where you used to pitch 5 years ago, we're the Uber of this, or 10 years ago, right? So,
right.
oh my gosh, we're the AI of iced coffee. Okay, cool. Let us invest in your company, right? That's, it's going to be
Well
a feature, less of a product.
yeah. And I think this dovetails right into the next trend because obviously I think PR is having a bit of a of a field day because of all the I'm going to use the term GEO. Some people call it AEO. We're talking about AI driven search. We're talking about searching using Chat GPT or Perplexity or whatever platform you prefer, and how earned media coverage can help your company show up in these searches because they come up at the top of the page for Google, they come up, right? So you want to be in those sources because a lot of people are not even going to look below that. Is that's kind of the I think the school of thought on that. So let's talk about this a little bit.
Oh my gosh, you're nailing it. And I'm trying to coin the phrase now. I know we talk B2B, we talk B2C. I'm going to try to make the term popular B2Me, because AI driven search pulls from everywhere, and your customer now, let's go back to our earlier days in PR where trade publications were printed, and a lot of
Mhm,
them still are, but the end customer often didn't see them except on the B2B side.
mhm.
Now it's all accessible, right? This Week in Consumer Electronics, aka Twice, which is a B2B publication, anyone can find that. And AI driven search, like you said, AO, GEO, whatever, we are now creating through PR that first page of Google ranking that everybody so desperately wants. And what brands aren't investing enough in yet is working with their PR teams to ensure that, yeah, we want the clicks of performance-based ads. Those clicks are wonderful,
Mhm.
but it's hard to compete there. But if you've got a long trail of PR hits, not
Yeah.
just a new trail, a
Right.
long trail
Yep.
that AI pulls from, that's how to get into those LLMs and GPTs.
That's what see, this is what bugs me about it. Okay, so it's first of all, it's great for those of us who work in PR. I think it's helpful to us, and in getting people to pay attention to something they should have been paying attention to all along, right? But the thing that drives me nuts about it is I see a lot of people in PR kind of saying, well, throw out your playbook and let's just, no, because what was working before will continue to work now. It's just if you weren't doing it before, you're going to be behind the people that were doing it, the companies that were doing it. So I think that's what it is. You either have to kind of double down on what you're doing. You might have to make a few tweaks, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But if you're not doing PR at all, like you're not doing any earned media, any media relations, any media outreach, whatever you want to call it, to get media coverage, you need to be doing that.
You
So,
nailed it. Gosh, like you said, don't throw out the playbook. If anything, double down on your training. But we look at, again, B2B, B2C, B2Me, whatever. What is your customer reading? Who's the decision maker? So in the case of AI-driven search, AO, GEO, whatever, what are the LLMs and GPTs reading? Where are they pulling their information from? Okay, make sure you're in those places.
right.
It's not brain surgery. If your customer reads X, Y, and Z, cool. But if they're reading this, also cool. And often we'll have clients ask us to get them into media outlets that they think they should be in, but that's not what their customer reads. And you really need to look at where your customer is consuming, and we'll talk about that too, because they might not be reading what gets the most eyeballs.
Right. Yeah, and I will say if you're not coming up and you see the sources that are, that are being cited, then maybe you try to pitch a story to one of those sources, or look at your competitors and see where they're being covered. Are those publications being cited? Are your competitors coming up? So that's the kind of thing that I think, you can obviously and should be looking at. But I will tell you that often for my clients in the B2B space, they are featured, they are there because they are on YouTube, and we are getting trade media coverage. And those two things together can be really powerful for clients, at least again in the B2B space. That's what I see.
And you've built that trail, which is so important, because while being new to the scene can work as a PR pitch, the AI driven search, whatever you want to call them, they want that trail. And they want that trail to be deep and clear.
Yeah. And it can't be something that you just do once and just then, don't do anything for 6 months or a year. It kind of has to be consistent. And that's why I like to pull in customer case studies, thought leadership, contributed articles, those kinds of things. Because obviously, not every company is going to have a new product or solution to announce every time you turn around. Most of them don't. But if you rely only on that type of PR, you're going to find yourself, kind of missing the boat a little bit, I think.
You need to be out there. You need to be found and top of mind. It's, buying one ad, like the other side of, marketing, if you will, versus earned media. You don't just buy one ad. I know there's brands that buy a Super Bowl ad and that sometimes sustains them the rest of the year, but that's a Sports Center play that doesn't always work, right? So you need to have more, whether it is like you said, YouTube content, blog content, customer case studies, to keep it, create news. And it's not always going to be groundbreaking, which is why you don't pitch it to a journalist.
Right.
You don't tell a journalist that Jane Smith wrote a glowing review of your mortgage company. Like, no, that's not, a pitch. But you need to constantly be creating something to draw the eyeballs to your brand. You don't just do it once. It is sales to an extent.
It's credibility, it's proof points, and they all kind of add up. And it's not this is again with the attribution, you can't just attribute it to any one thing that you're doing. And that's why I think brand authority is really important. Again, it kind of lays the foundation. It's not, again, it's not like we can just do this one thing one time and expect it to be the end all be all solution for our marketing or PR or communications needs. It's everything kind of together. And again, get rid of the silos, look at it holistically, keep at it consistently. I mean, it sounds like the same old advice, and it kind of is. I mean, I because it works. Like
But also don't forget about AI.
yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think a lot of people think if you're not like all in, you're gonna get left behind. And I'm like, well, but if you're not already focused on the fundamentals and you don't have that foundation, I don't know that AI is gonna really answer your be the answer to your issues. And I
Right.
know journalists absolutely do not want you to use AI to draft your answers and send them in to like a Q&A type of request.
No. And I'm seeing feedback from journalists too on LinkedIn and other places where they'll say if it looks like your response was drafted by AI, not only
Yeah.
am I not going to pay attention, I'm going to block you.
Same with articles. Sometimes clients will use the AI to generate, a thought leadership contributed article type of, you know, effort. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to know. And a lot of them have on their, right in their guidelines, we will not accept or publish AI generated content. So you're not really getting anything over on anyone. And if you think you are, you're going to, find out, so, it's not really helping your credibility.
No. And one thing, one trend that I am going to see for next year as we get into that too, and I don't want to diverge too much, but I'm seeing already a rise in these fly-by-night agencies that are selling AO, GO packages to guarantee the chatbots and LLMs are going to pick you up. And don't do it. It's not going to work. If it was that easy, the biggest brands in the world would work with those companies, and they're
Mhm,
not.
mhm. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the media landscape because I do not believe clients should just be throwing out their media list and their, what they've been doing. However, we are seeing newsletters, Substack, for example, becoming more important in some sectors. So let's talk a little bit about maybe more niche media, more, media that has maybe a smaller audience, but if it's your audience, that's where you need to be.
So important, right? It's similar to trade media. It might not have the most eyeballs, but it has the right
Yeah.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
And that is more important than anything else. And when we've seen this throughout our career with the media landscape shifting, expanding, like, oh, print is contracting and online went huge. Now online's contracting and there's just a mix. We're going to see that with Substack.
Mhm.
Whereas there's going to be a lot of those journalists that start Substacks. I know one of them in particular, where they write on Substack stories they couldn't place elsewhere. So they're already
Mhm.
working with other publications, and then
Mhm.
they've got their Substack for other stories they want to write, and they're highly followed by the right people. We deal a lot in the consumer tech space, and there's small Substacks and small YouTubers that it's followed by an amazing amount of people that are, it's not the biggest audience, but it's important.
Mhm.
We just saw this with the client. CNET did a story on them that, they ran a quick story on Instagram and YouTube Reels, or not YouTube Shorts, excuse me.
Mhm.
And there were some comments that said, oh, okay, this is cool, but I'm going to wait and see what so-and-so says, who's this smaller content creator. Because it's the right eyeballs. I think Substack is going to be massive. And also that's where maybe why PR, I don't say costs so much, but takes time, instead of just going after a TechCrunch and 3 other publications, there might be 10 Substackers you need to hit. They're the new blogs. That's really what they are.
Yeah, well, I think for a long time, some publications have also had newsletters, and of course, like industry analyst firms have newsletters. So appearing in those can be as important as appearing in what sometimes clients think is really important, like a Wall Street Journal or a TechCrunch or whatever. I use those examples, but you could
Forbes, get me in Forbes.
So I think it's just, again, the biggest thing is just to be aware of where your audience is spending time, and then that's kind of where you want to be. And then again, you might not get there overnight. It might take a series of pitches or announcements or touches, outreach to get in front of them. So that's the other thing. I know people who will do one pass at it and be like, well, PR doesn't really work, doesn't work for us. No, it's kind of getting to the right people, and then consistency, and just over time, just taking the time, giving it time.
You should look at PR as a fitness regimen, and going to the gym once, you might see some results, but not the results you want. Definitely doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Regarding Substack, though, I do see something's going to change or give, similar to what we saw with streaming, because I can go through my Substack, which is free, the Daily Byrne, if anyone wants to check it out. Substack's minimum fee, if you're going to charge for your content, is $8 a month. Okay, that's going to add up a lot very quickly. And if you look at I look at San Diego Magazine here, which I get in print and online, that's less than 20 a month, right? Wall Street Journal, I'm sorry, less than 20 a year. Wall Street Journal is less than 60 a year. So $8 a month, there's only going to be so many Substacks that people can subscribe to. So I think I'm going to see soon Substack allowing Substackers to bundle their subscriptions with others, where perhaps I can say, hey, link my Substack with these 3 others for $10 total. So I get a piece of that 10 versus like hoping someone pays 8.
Doesn't Substack take some cut?
I believe they do, yeah. So it's not.
That's my issue with it, and I think I've seen other people talking about that too. So, I mean, I don't know.
One more reason why mine is free, and truthfully, it was just easier for me to launch there than doing another blog. So, like,
yeah,
it's seamless. But I have on mine that I don't want your money. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee, there's a link to donate $1. But other than that, no. But Substack is definitely going to be a place people need to look at from a PR perspective. But also, you've mentioned YouTube a bunch of times. I don't think, and forgive me if we're premature, but I don't think we talked about Reddit yet, which a lot of the LLMs are pulling from.
Yeah.
Do you have a Reddit presence that you own?
No, I would put that in this category of things to look at beyond your traditional media outlets, which many people say are going to just go away entirely. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. Not with trade media, I don't think, but
no, but it makes for good headlines, right? To say like everything's going away. Oh wait, turns out we're going to see this before. It's almost like when people work from home in mass. We're never bringing people back to the office.
Yeah.
You can go back and check receipts and see what.
Yeah.
See all the CEOs that said we're going to be remote, no problem. Like, this is it. Michelle, go move to Costa Rica. It's cool. We're never going to want you back. 9 months later, hey, we want you in the office 4 days a week. So you can either fly from Costa Rica or whatever. It's. Media is here to stay. It's going to ebb and flow because that's what happens.
Yeah, well, I think if you spend any time in the PR community on LinkedIn, you kind of have to decide who you're gonna like listen to, and then because honestly, it could drive you crazy. And I I speak from experience because it's sometimes it's really not good for me to go too deep over there because you just see some crazy takes and things. So
Much like other platforms, there's so many people in the PR space that are writing for the clicks. They're writing that
okay,
headline to get the attention and get
yeah,
the eyeballs, and
yeah,
that helps with the algorithm, right? That's the game. You and I don't love playing that. I'm not just going to write a salacious
no,
post
no,
on the death of media and what your brand needs to do for PR
right,
because I don't I don't believe it.
no, no. No, I'm not playing that game. And speaking of, the death of something that, press releases, that's the next trend, and I know
That's a
some
great
people, again, are
segue.
gonna be like, "They're dead, they died. Guess what? They're back."
Definitely, and I think you can speak a lot to this because I don't know if they've ever fully gone away in the B2B world, but you tell me and I can give you my take on that after.
No, well, we've seen that AI is pulling from them. So if you wanna show up in AI-based search in GEO, AEO, whatever you wanna call it, press releases are a way to do that. And there are even some experts that would say go as far as just to write the press release just for the LLM. Now, I don't suggest that necessarily, but I think if you want to show up press releases and actually issuing them on a wire service, which also I would have said before, and I still would say, case by case basis, we don't wanna just because it can be expensive, just to be honest about it. I would not say put every single announcement on the wire. However, I saw a couple of stories about, Notified's Globe Newswire being a source that's very highly cited and regarded by LLMs. So that is something to think about. Now, I think we don't have all the data yet, maybe, but, I don't think press releases I've always seen a lot of value in press releases, and I'm glad that others now are perhaps, understanding that they're valuable in this way as well.
You nailed it with a lot of points there. First, we don't have all the data, and Q2 of next year might be
Mhm,
different than Q1.
mhm,
But press releases are definitely having a glow up. And I
mhm,
agree with you. You shouldn't just write them for the LLM, but that's why it's so important to have content. So you've got the press release that you put over the wire. Do you have a news section on your site somewhere where it's also going to go? Do you have a blog section where we often see brands make big mistakes when they write the press release? Maybe that's too on brand. Maybe that should have been a blog post versus something that's going to be digested by a journalist. So maybe you need a few different versions where you put it on your
yeah,
news section of your site, and
yeah,
then on the blog it's a little different. Or you have a B2B section
mhm,
of your website if you're a consumer brand
mhm,
that talks about that. But press
yeah,
releases are having a moment. I would agree with you. Wires, for a long time, I was not down for them because they weren't getting picked up
right,
by journalists.
right,
And now they're getting picked up by a different audience
yeah,
that matters. So,
yeah,
hey, you've got to pivot, as the kids say. And all
yep,
right, I'm going to start doing more press releases because I'll
mhm,
tell brands I don't need them for a journalist, but
right,
you might need them to be discovered.
right. Yeah, I mean, I've written extensively about press releases because I think they serve a lot of purposes, and I'm not gonna go into all those reasons right now. However, the first contributed article I ever wrote was on the death of the press release, how people were saying it was dying. That was probably, I don't know, at least 10 years ago. Anyway,
It's
they're
back.
they're not dying. But also, I think trust is a huge issue, right? Because everybody wants to know who to trust and they don't know who to trust. Back to the AI generated deep fakes and just back to, misinformation, disinformation that can spread about your brand or your products or whatever it might be, your executives. This is a way for companies to speak in their own voice, right? This is from the company. I guess you could pretend to be the company and issue a press release, but the wire services actually do verify, and they really go to some length to do that because they've run. There are cases where back in the day that would be an issue, that it would be somebody proposing as a company. So now they take a lot of steps to make sure it's actually the company. So if you're paying the wire service, they're going to confirm and verify that it is actually the company issuing the news. So you can trust that. And I say that, I'm always like, when I say you could trust it 100%, I'm like, but honestly, I think it is a trustworthy way for companies to talk about themselves and share with their audiences and get out their news and announcements.
Definitely. And it's another reason why you do have to have a digital newsroom creating that paper trail as well.
Yep.
So that someone who's not sure about fake news, no politics here,
Mhm.
they can go to your site and verify it. Oh,
Right.
michellegarrett.com. Okay, this is her statement on the matter. She's not saying whatever the heck I said. Is it foolproof? No, but
Right.
it will definitely help if you have a place that your customer, B2B, B2C, B2Me, can go check. Sorry, I'm the worst. Dad jokes.
Oh dear. I also think that another trend is just kind of, we talked about it a little bit, but just going beyond, um, thinking about, and I know a lot of companies don't want to start a podcast, they don't want to be on YouTube, they think it's going to be very time consuming and expensive. It doesn't have to be any of those things, and I do think while it's not for everyone, I think it's something to think about and consider because I feel like when you add these things up, that's what kinda gets you seen and gets you, surfaced by the LLMs and also by your audience. So, YouTube is very hot. You talked about Reddit. I think that's another place to think about being present. I think, anytime you can, add more content that's valuable now, not just slop. We're talking real valuable content. I think that is something you should consider. And with clients, if they're asked to be on a podcast, or even if it's a podcast that isn't in the top 10 podcast, it's a good thing to do it because it all gets fed into the LLMs and it does all add up and help, I think.
Exactly. It's very difficult to sometimes put a direct correlation on
Mhm.
something like that because you don't know what's going to be fed in, and maybe it's similar to just us as users, as people, where
Mhm.
it might take 15 times for you to say, hey, you know what, I think I do want to try that cereal or buy that car, but you don't know if that decision was made because you saw the podcast that what we'll call B level in terms of size, or A plus, right? Was it the New York Times article on this that made you buy, or was it the weekly newspaper that gets chucked on your driveway? Because it all resonates. We
Mhm.
remember. And you and I talked a little bit offline about billboards. Same thing. Good luck thinking that you can figure out that that billboard made me buy whatever if you
Yeah,
advertise elsewhere,
yeah.
but it it matters. The shingle on the door matters. If you don't believe that, take down
Mhm.
your signage, right? Get rid of your logo, get rid of anything that like at a storefront. So you don't know what is going to drive that decision maker.
Mhm.
Similar to the AIs, they might only show 4 or 5 articles.
Mhm.
Do you know what else is in the back end informing
Yeah,
those? Or
yeah.
often we see this on the consumer side where journalists will look at B2B coverage for thought starters, or
Right.
they'll be lurking on Reddit and
Right.
see things and see trends. So that's
Right.
what they're picking up from. They're, B2B can help a consumer journalist
Mhm.
validate a story?
Well, it's repetition too, because I've had a couple of guests on who just talked about, when you think when you're sick of hearing yourself say the same thing over and over again, that's when you know you need to keep saying it more often because we kind of can't say it enough. And I think we are our own worst critic in that way. Like we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of talking about this or hearing myself say this, and it sound like a broken record. Well, I mean, that's kind of what it takes. And so then again, it's like some of your audience won't see your LinkedIn post. Some of them won't see you at the trade show. Some of them won't see the article in the trade journal. Some of them may not see the ad. So, but together, these things are supposed to work together. And that's why I think, you can't attribute um, the purchase to any one particular touch along the way because it takes a lot of touches.
Yes. So repetition, again, the gym, right? Ugh. But also nutrition will help get you in shape. But you nailed it. Why do we need more touches? Because we'll use earbuds as an example. These are skull candy. We've gotten so many glowing reviews for this product. But if you don't need earbuds today, you don't need earbuds today. Done. So you might not be in the market to buy new earbuds for 9 months from now, 2 years from now. It's like cars, right? I don't buy a new car every year. You need to stay in
No.
front of me so that when the time is right for Bill Byrne to buy a new family truckster, Griswold reference, if anyone knows that, I'm thinking about it. You need to stay in front of whoever B2B, B2C, whatever that person is,
Mhm.
more than just once. Otherwise, someone else will be. And
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
harder to recover awareness than it is to gain awareness and hold it.
Right.
Brands forget that. PR is, other people have made this analogy better than me, but PR is more of a fire than a light switch.
Right.
And it takes time to build that fire up.
Yep.
Resources help.
Yep.
There's various, you can buy a fire starter or we can just do it with the sticks. I wasn't a Boy Scout, so don't rely on me for that. But once that fire's out, it's hard to get it going again. And the people that you want around your fire are going to move on to the fire that's warmer over there. So
Right.
now you're going to rebuild your fire
Yep.
and hope they come back.
Yep.
Why would they come back?
Yeah. Yep. No, you got it. I know we're running out of time. I just want to talk about thought leadership because I think it's really important, and then we'll wrap up. And if anybody has a question or a thought they want to share, please do that because we're almost out of time, and I know everybody's time is valuable. But thought leadership to me is going to help companies build trust, putting the subject matter experts out there. They don't always have to be from the C-suite, positioning them, getting them out there, getting them talking and writing and sharing their knowledge and expertise is going to help build trust. And again, it's another way to help draw attention to your brand and help you kind of in those peaks and valleys, those valleys when you don't have any announcements or news going on. So that's something you can just do continually throughout the year. And I would really recommend it. And it does really help for a number of reasons. Again, won't go into them all right now, but
There's not much I can add to that besides saying yes and do it, because the challenge of anything in marketing now is it takes more to do the same.
yeah.
So with our friends in the performance ad space, they're spending more to get maybe the same return as before. With PR efforts and earned media, those contributed articles, when they're genuine and when they have a true thought leadership component, not
Mhm.
just another shade of gray, not just saying how great your brand is, give whoever it is that's your customer a reason to find and trust you, because you don't know when and where it's going to resonate.
Yeah. And I think it comes off as just a lot more credible than, say an ad or something like that. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't use paid media because I do think that's part of it too. I really believe in the peso model, paid, earned, shared, own. I really believe in that. But anyway, yeah, I think I see a lot of people talking about thought leadership, and again, I always feel like sometimes it's like, well, if you work in PR, you've always known content matters. You've always known thought leadership matters. Influencers matter. I mean, these are all things that we as PR pros have done kind of since the beginning of PR. So,
Completely. PR now in the future is going to be just targeting the audience that matters to your end customer. And at the moment, that audience is going to be wherever it is that the LLM, GPT, whatever's pull from. And it's going to be different based on if you're using Claude or Chat GPT or whoever. So I would implore any brand, any space to do a really good PR audit and not just say, talk to me about Joe's Coffee.
right.
Say who makes the best coffee for X, Y, and Z. Like you can do this audit on your own. You don't got to pay a service for it. But then also start doing long tail. Who makes the best organic coffee in this space? Who makes the best X, Y, and Z that tastes like this? Really, you've got to go deeper because there are these articles, and that's how people search. You look at AI-driven shopping, which is hot right now with the holidays. What do you get for Hanukkah for your stepbrother's girlfriend who's allergic to cats, who you don't like very much, and lives in Rhode Island? Go. And it's going to be diving into that. So that's why you need more content than ever.
Yeah. But it can't be AI generated slop.
It's slop word of the year. I feel like that might have been a Merriam-Webster thing. Maybe not.
I did know, I did see it. And now there's the article about storytelling that's going around. And I'm like, again, PR with storytelling. I'm like, I don't know. For me, it's like, this is just what we do. These are just things that we do. You don't need to throw anything out or hop on a bandwagon or chase a shiny object. It's, work with somebody who knows what they're doing and understands, how it benefits you over time. So I think that's, what do you want to leave people with? That's what I want to leave.
I think the trend in 2026 is PR is going to have a glow up as brands realize if you're going to be in the places that matter to AI-driven search, you're going to need more earned media and a little less advertising. Shift that budget just a little.
Yeah, because paid can definitely support, help get you on the radar for earned, I think, and it's those two work really well together. But
definitely,
yeah, you don't want to throw it out in time. But yeah, I think that PR should get a little bit more attention. But of course, I would have said that anytime you asked me, right? So I just like to see a little respect. We need a little.
The PR industry is not very good at earning the extra dollars versus our friends on the ad side. And some of that is just last click attribution where, oh, I've read all these articles on X, Y, and Z. And then you see the ad, B2B, B2C, whatever. Click. Okay. Hey, we caused that. Did you? Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. It's hard.
Fighting this battle a long time, my friend.
I am so happy we did this, and I am always thrilled to have you, and I appreciate all of your insight, and I thank you for being here and spending time.
Do one more shot of my shirt or my sweater. Sorry. Thank you, Michelle. I hope you have a wonderful holiday and an excellent new year. And to everyone else who tuned in, thank you. Really appreciate you spending the time.
Thank you so much, everyone. PR Export will be back in January, and I hope everybody has a safe and relaxing holiday season. Thanks so much.